So I was tipped off to this by an article yesterday in Wired. Senate probe uncovers allegations of widespread abuse in ICE custody. Led by U.S. Senator from Georgia, John Ossoff, who's up for re-election next year in 2026. His investigation cites hundreds of reports since January, including accounts of miscarriages, child neglect, and sexual abuse at ICE detention centers in dozens of states. And I was able to go to his website and print off the report that he put out. It's about 8 or 9 pages long. It's an interesting, if horrifying, read, but at least somebody's doing it, you know? A United States investigation has identified more than 500 credible reports of human rights abuses in U.S. immigration and detention since January, including alarming allegations of mistreatment of pregnant women and children. I think that I think what we're going to learn down the road is that this is a direct reflection of the people who are running and managing ICE. Their hiring standards, their training regimen, their supervisory standards, having any kinds of checks and balances in place, creating an environment where some ICE agents can report other ICE agents if they see abuses. And what I think we're going to see is hiring standards, management, all of these things are in the gutter. I mean, we're all seeing these ICE agents out on the street every day. And a disturbingly large number of them appear, and this is, I don't mean any shade on anybody, but a disturbingly large number of them appear to be fat, out of shape, untrained, incompetent boobs with the IQ of a peanut. And that is all reflected in this report, I believe. As of late last month, the investigation had unearthed 41 cases of physical and sexual abuse, 14 involving pregnant detainees, and 18 involving children. The accounts of abuse span facilities in 25 states and include Puerto Rico, U.S. military bases, and charter deportation flights. Among the most harrowing, a pregnant woman reportedly bled for days before being taken to the hospital, only to miscarry in a room alone without medical attention. Others described being forced to sleep on the floor or denied meals and medical exams. Attorneys have reported that their clients' prenatal checkups were canceled for weeks at a time and not rescheduled. Children as young as 2 years old were subjected to severe neglect. One U.S. citizen child with severe medical needs was hospitalized multiple times while in Customs and Border Protection custody, where an officer allegedly dismissed her mother's pleas for help by telling her to just give the girl a cracker. Another child recovering from brain surgery was reportedly denied follow-up care, and a 4-year-old undergoing cancer treatment was deported without access to doctors or medical personnel. The Senate investigation found most abuse reports at detention centers in Texas, Georgia, and California, spanning both Department of Homeland Security-run facilities and federal prisons used under ICE agreements with private prisons. The findings are based on dozens of witness interviews, Ossoff's office says, that's a fun sentence to say, including detainees, family members, attorneys, correctional staff, law enforcement, doctors and nurses, as well as site inspections of detention centers in Texas and Georgia. The report also cites corroborating news investigations and public records drawing on sources such as Wired, the Miami Herald, NBC News, CNN, BBC, and regional outlets like the Louisiana Illuminator and VT Digger. Together, these sources formed the foundation of what the report describes as an active and ongoing investigation into systemic mistreatment of pregnant women and children in U.S. custody. Of course, ICE and DHS did not respond to Wired's request for comment. I had read another article in ICE, and it was one of these things where it's like I read this article and I was like, I got to make a video about it, and I never got around to it. Wired published the results of an investigation in June that focused on 911 calls from 10 of the nation's largest ICE detention centers. This article is still up on their website. It revealed a pattern of medical crises ranging from pregnancy complications and suicide attempts to seizures, head injuries, and allegations of sexual assault by ICE agents. Wired shared the findings of its investigation with John Ossoff's office upon request last month. Sources told Wired that detention staff frequently failed to respond to urgent calls for help, including multiple cases in which pregnant women suffered serious complications or miscarriages, having not received any timely medical attention. The Trump administration's detention system is undergoing a rapid expansion, plans to more than double the capacity to over 107,000 beds nationwide, meaning they can hold at any given time around 110,000 people. I mean, if you're arresting 3,000 people a day, like Stephen Miller constantly says they're doing, the whole system is filled in a month. New facilities are rising in West Texas, where a $232 million private contract has funded a tent-style camp at Fort Bliss, capable of holding 5,000 people, like Alligator, Alcatraz in Florida, and in Indiana, where ICE struck a deal to house 1,000 detainees in the state prison system. Because, of course, why not? Florida's so-called Alligator Alcatraz caged encampment has already drawn lawsuits over alleged human rights abuses and environmental damage. And I'm going to talk about another lawsuit in a little bit. I found an article. That prison is located on native land, sovereign native land. It's some interesting wrinkles there. Has drawn lawsuits over alleged human rights abuses and environmental damage, while critics warn that relying on military bases and remote rural prisons to absorb the surge strips detainees of due process and shields conditions from public scrutiny. You think there are medical facilities at Alligator Alcatraz? Do you think there are doctors and nurses out there and medical equipment? Civil rights groups and local advocates argue that the expansion cements a system already plagued by neglect, pointing to reports of miscarriages, untreated illness, and violence inside. With contracts flowing to private prison companies and military facilities alike, the U.S. is locking in the largest immigration detention network in the nation's history, an infrastructure that critics say is designed not only to hold migrants, but to make their suffering invisible and inevitable. And inevitable. This is some atrocious shit, man.